My name is Dr. Robert Goldman. I'm World Medical Chairman of the International Federation of Bodybuilders. We oversee the sports medicine committees in over 180 countries around the world for the sport of bodybuilding and fitness. I'm also the founder of the National Academy of Sports Medicine, NASM, the top personal trainer certification worldwide, as well as the founder and chairman of the International Sports Hall of Fame. And through the Hall of Fame, we honor the world's greatest athletes. Alan Goldberg, who is head of the Hall of Honors group, which this convention is taking place, is on our global advisory board for the International Sports Hall of Fame. Well, I think you're taking some of the greatest athletes in the world, the most diverse athletes who are able to do things that very few athletes in any sport have the capability of doing, and you've then recruited these many variety of world champions in different disciplines and put them all together in this very unique environment. I think it's a very exciting concept and one that I think can really catch fire, because it's just like people just used to be into comparing a boxer to a wrestler, but now with mixed martial arts and all these other grappling and the whole array of different martial arts are involved, and taking the best former world champions or present champions as instructors or coaches and mentors, you now create an entire new world of sport based around this. Now, medically, there are certain challenges because these athletes will have certain medical issues that are a little different because of the extreme concentration and challenges of their particular sport discipline. And then when you put so many different sports together or so many different disciplines into one arena, it makes for a very unique and challenging and interesting environment. Well, the dangers in all sport, of course, is traumatic brain injury, because somebody getting punched or hit or kicked in the head. That's always a risk. But because of the variety of styles, there's a lot of joint injuries in terms of your wrist, your ankle, knee, back, and so on. And these athletes, even though they're very flexible, we're talking about enormous force vectors because they're not being hit like by a normal person. You know, your normal bone will break at 8 pounds pressure. Some of these athletes, between the weapons they use or their power that they have, they can exert several hundred pounds of pressure per square inch, causing significant damage if they are not prepared for it. And so even with great preparation, you're going to see some kind of combative injuries. Different in boxing, they get hit in the body above the waist. Now they can get hit anywhere. They can get at their knee, and their ankle, their joint. In the grappling aspects, the various submission moves. These are much more serious or extreme injuries that can occur under normal sporting situations. That's why my hat's off to the judges as well as the referees in many of the UFC and MMA championships and the different groups that are doing these championships now, because the refs are really well trained. They do stop these injuries. As soon as they see a tap out, immediately they pull the fighters apart, they jump in between them. And so I have a lot of regard for how good the medical teams and the refs have now become. Well, part of the things that we see, I mean, sometimes they're wearing protective gear, whether it be hand or foot gear or whatever. But, you know, when you have people of this skill level, if they connect, I think the only thing protecting them is the fact that their mutual respect for each other, that they're not really trying to hurt each other. But, you know, they are colleagues, they're like brothers in sport. And I think the most protective thing that I've seen, especially in many of the MMA types of combat fights and situations, and that there's this underlying mutual respect of not wanting to beat that other opponent, but not wanting to damage them where they can no longer compete. And so I think there's that part, that respect, that as soon as the ref pulls them apart or they know it's time where they've won or they've won that particular bout, they immediately back off, where those who don't have the same emotional stability and respect and mutual consideration for the others, they may go a bit further to try and dislocate somebody's shoulder or knee or arm or whatever the case may be. Well, I think the different diverse worlds that the global proving ground is bringing into play is the martial arts are very different than many other sports today. A lot of the sports today, they're very highly paid, very self-centered. They don't have that same discipline and respect for others on this consideration. What I find every time I go to these types of events or interact with these kinds of people, they have this underlying true respect for their elders, for the masters, for the ones that taught them, and they always want to teach and give back and mentor others. And this is something that you see generation to generation within the martial arts area. And this is what draws me to having done this many years myself, as well as wanting to be involved in these sporting activities going forward. They're really class acts. I mean, you know, the martial arts are true class acts. When you see some of these grand masters, and even with their enormous skill level or fan base or fame and the things that they've been able to accomplish or their present skill level, they are still very modest, take the time out, very gracious in winning and defeat, but most importantly, most gracious in their mentoring of others and how they treat their fellow martial artists. And that to me is one of the most impressive things that I see in these people.